They never saw this coming. All across America, Democrats swore up and down that President Trump's big, beautiful bill was going to be this nightmare, a so-called cold-hearted plan to rip health care away from millions. Chuck Schumer said that it would be the biggest cut to Medicaid in American history. Elizabeth Warren, she was shrieking about how it was going to throw Americans under the bus for billionaires. But here's what they never told you. The big, beautiful bill isn't about ripping away care from the people who actually needed it. It's about ripping out the fraud that's been draining your wallet for years. Now, today, history just flipped upside down. The big, beautiful bill passed the Senate. Vice President J.D. Vance, he broke the tie. And guess what? Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and the entire Dem machine, they never saw it coming. And you know who else didn't see it coming? The millions of illegal freeloaders, able-bodied fraudsters, the shady insiders who have been milking Medicaid while you and I pay the price. Now, stick with me, guys, because in today's video, I'm going to expose exactly who got cut off, why the big, beautiful bill just delivered the biggest win for working class Americans in decades, and how President Trump's strategic move, it's about to put up to $10,000 back into your family's pocket while crushing the Medicaid, the swamp's Medicaid scam for good, because it's a big old scam I need to tell you guys about. Now, drop a quick 10K in the comments down below if you'd like to see 10K hit your bank account. Now, if you think that you've heard the real story, guys, trust me, you have not. So be sure to subscribe, buckle up, because this is the truth behind President Trump's big, beautiful bill that they never wanted you to see. So, and I appreciate you guys hitting the like button and supporting the channel. You guys are amazing. All right, folks. So I want to break down exactly why today just made history. Now, this wasn't just another boring Senate vote. This was actually a vote for something that mattered. This was President Trump's big, beautiful bill surviving every dirty trick, every smear, every fake headline that they could throw at it, and winning. So picture this, guys. The Senate chamber locked in a dead heat, 49 for 49 against all the lobbyists and the swamp creatures holding their breath. And then who walks in? Calm as ever. Vice President J.D. Vance. He doesn't even flinch, man. He doesn't waffle. He bangs the gavel, breaks the tie, and ultimately delivers the single most important vote of this entire session. One man, one gavel, and suddenly billions of dollars in wasted fraud gone. Now, you want to talk about unity here, guys? This wasn't just the hardcore conservatives pulling for Trump. This was smart strategy. You had moderates, the Freedom Caucus, the blue-collar Republicans from farm states, factory states, all lining up behind one mission: pass the big, beautiful bill, or watch the swamp eat working people alive for another decade. They called it impossible. They mocked it. They leaked it wouldn't pass. And yet here we are. President Trump's impossible tax shield from fraud cleanup just steamrolled its way through the Senate. And every taxpayer in this country should be taking a deep breath tonight because this is your win. Now, here's the real kicker, guys, because the Senate fight is just the surface of the story. The real panic, that's on the faces of Chuck Schumer, Warren, and every top Democrat hack who spent the last month screaming about Medicaid. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, guys. For weeks, they ran out to like every camera that they could find, every blue collar microphone on cable crews, basically pretending that this bill was going to be ripping Medicaid away from your grandma, from your disabled neighbor, your single mom down the street. You know what I'm saying here, guys? They painted it like Trump was kicking crutches out from under the poor families. Pure fear, pure spin. But remember Chuck Schumer's meltdown online? He barked, and I want to quote him too. The Republicans' big, beautiful bill is trying to force through the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. That is not beautiful. That is ugly. And it will rip healthcare away from millions. That's what Chuck Schumer said, right? You guys remember that. And Elizabeth Warren, she looked dead at the camera and spat out pretty much the same stale line that she always does. Republicans are throwing millions under the bus so that they can cut checks for billionaires and big corporations. Now, what they didn't say, and what they prayed you'd never ask, is who actually loses Medicaid under the big, beautiful bill. Spoiler alert, It's not your grandma, okay? It's not the elderly who paid into the system for decades. It's also not the disabled veteran struggling to work or struggling to walk. It's not the family with a kid fighting cancer. No, it's the people, guys, the people about to lose the free ride are exactly who you would want to cut off. I'm talking 1.4 million illegal aliens who never even had a right to your tax money in the first place. Millions of able-bodied Americans who can work, should work, but flat out refuse to lift a finger just because the swamp's freebies were too easy to grab. You know who I'm talking about, right, guys? And the best part, it's happening because President Trump, whether you like him or not, knew exactly where to find the loopholes and slam those suckers shut. Now, anybody can promise savings, right? But where's the proof? Leslie Taylor has it. She said, I saved $1,000 a year just by switching with Chapter's help. Wow. So Jamie from Texas, too, she said they found me $600 in savings I didn't even know existed. Guys, this is the work of Chapter. They're amazing. That's why I've been telling you guys about them. Chapter checks every single plan, not just one or two, because, guys, you deserve more than just talk. You deserve proof. And so I'm giving you the proof. And I'd love to hear your success story. So what I want you to do is give our friends at Chapter a call right now. Phone number is 909-563-8279. And when you get off the phone with them, I want you to leave me a comment on one of these videos. I read through the comments. I want to hear how much money you were able to save. Better yet, hit them up on their website at askchapter.org/Ron. I'll leave a link for you in the pinned comment down below. I want you to see what real looks like. All right, guys. So let's get into who's actually getting booted off of the Medicaid gravy train, because once you hear these numbers, you're going to understand exactly why the swamp was in full panic mode. Okay. First up, we got to talk about them. 1.4 million illegal immigrants. Now, you heard that right, guys. Illegal aliens. Now, for years, states and shady clinics have been gambling, essentially just gaming these loopholes to put non-citizens on a benefit that they were never even meant to touch. Guys, we're talking about your tax dollars, covering doctor visits, emergency treatments. You know how expensive those are. You ever go to an urgent care? Man, we went to one the other day, about knocked our heads off. Long-term care. That's for people who broke the law to get here in the first place. All of this was covered by your taxpayer dollars. And if you think that's infuriating, listen up, because it gets worse than that. Second, the next group of people we need to talk about are the millions, and I mean millions of able-bodied Americans who are perfectly capable of working, but they choose not to. I'm pretty sure we all know someone who fits the bill. And if you know somebody who fits the bill, you let me know. Now, I'm not talking about the sick. I'm not talking about the elderly. I'm not talking about the disabled. I'm not even talking about the caretakers looking after a family member who can't work because every waking hour of their life, they're taking care of somebody. I'm talking about healthy, able-bodied adults who just decided to drop out during the COVID chaos, and they just stayed on the rolls. Never went back to work, never reapplied for a job because they could just keep getting some free cash. They just kept cashing in on the freebies. Meanwhile, working Americans picked up the tab. Now, here's where the swamp's narrative really falls apart, because President Trump's big, beautiful bill does not gut Medicaid for people who actually truly need it. It protects it. It saves it. And it does it by cutting out the fraud and the waste that's been growing like some old mold in a broken basement for decades. Okay? Think about it. All the money that's going to people that it shouldn't have gone to is now freeing up the funds to provide it to those who deserve it. Okay? Senator Jim Banks, he nailed it. He said, if you can work, you should. Anybody agree with him? If you agree with Senator Jim Banks that if you can work, you should, just drop a quick work in the comments down below, guys. And I think he's right. The truth is, if you're able-bodied, if you're healthy, if you don't have a disabled child to care for, if you don't have an elderly parent that you're looking after, you should be working, period. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I love to work. I'm just saying. Anyone who knows me knows that. Anyway, because this is how we keep programs like Medicaid alive for people who really need it. And don't just take my word for it, guys. I want you to listen to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. He laid it out crystal clear just this week. He said, we're not cutting real Medicaid. We're just cutting back to pre-COVID levels. Before the swamp cracked it wide open, people had to prove that they were qualified. If you didn't, you just didn't get it. Simple as that. And I have to agree with Scott on that one. So this is not some cold-hearted hatchet job. This is just common sense. This is what real budget reform looks like when you have a president who actually cares more about the people paying the bills than the freeloaders milking the system. Now think about this, guys. President Trump's not cutting your grandma's pills. He ain't doing that. He's not taking the medicine out of a sick kid's hands. He's protecting those very people by kicking the fraudsters off the lifeboat that they should never have been allowed on board in the first place. So this is exactly what fairness looks like. Now, here's the wild part. This wasn't an accident. Trump did it on purpose. This was strategic. This was smart. And yes, it is compassionate to the millions of working Americans who actually fund these programs with every one of their paychecks. But that's not all, guys, because I'm going to go ahead and pull the curtain back on how this fraud ballooned in the first place. And you're going to see exactly how the Democrats turned COVID panic into a $1 billion scam machine that they never wanted to shut off. Spoiler alert, you're going to see the receipts that the mainstream media refuses to show you. So, all right, we've already exposed who's getting the boot, right? Now I want to dig into the scam and how it was even possible in the first place, because here's the ugly truth that the media will not touch. They refuse to touch it. This fraud didn't pop up overnight. It's been engineered, guys, expanded and protected by Democrats who knew exactly what they were doing. Think back, all the way back about 4 years, 5 years now. It's crazy, right? During COVID, the panic essentially gave the swamp the perfect excuse to blow the doors off Medicaid eligibility. States got billions in bonus money. I was wondering where all this money was going. As long as they didn't kick anybody off the rolls, they kept getting money. So guess what happened? They stopped checking. Millions who didn't qualify stayed on. Fraudsters piled in. No one enforced the rules. No one asked any questions. Just got a free ride on your dime. And when the pandemic faded, well, or at least the panic related to the pandemic, when that faded, did they tighten things back up? No, of course not. You know, states kept the scam alive. Loopholes stayed wide open. The same politicians who lecture you about paying your fair share were quietly rubber stamping Medicaid for able-bodied adults who could and should be working right next to you at the factory, at the farm, at the diner, at the warehouse, at the cubicle, wherever you happen to work. Now, Kevin Hassett, who runs the National Economic Council, he spelled it out better than anybody else. He said, it's not compassion, it's fraud. And every dollar wasted on fraud is a dollar that should be helping real families, real seniors, and real Americans. And this is exactly where President Trump's big, beautiful bill flips the script, because this is not just about plugging holes. This is about saving the entire ship. By cutting the fraud and shutting down the loopholes, President Trump's plan frees up billions that were literally being set on fire. And instead of raising taxes like the swamp loves to do, he's redirecting that cash where it actually lifts America up. So let's go ahead and break this down, right? The same bill Democrats shrieked, we're going to kill Medicaid, does the opposite. It protects it. It balances the budget, and it hands real Americans a real win without punishing their paychecks. Now, if you want the real updates that they try to hide, and you never want to miss the truth behind the headlines, I want you to click the link down below and join my free breaking news newsletter right now, okay? It's fast, it's free, and it keeps you one step ahead while they're scrambling to cover their tracks. So check the pinned comment down below. Join the free breaking news newsletter. I'll see you on the inside. Now, think about this, guys. President Trump's team knows that cutting the fraud alone is not enough. So the big, beautiful bill also taps two other massive streams of real money. First, 3% GDP growth, driven by lower taxes, better business conditions, and more Americans working instead of freeloading. This alone is worth up to $4 trillion in fresh revenue. Second, you got $2.8 trillion in tariff revenue, right? While the swamp sobs about President Trump's unfair trade war, American industries are seeing tariffs pour money back in funding roads, jobs, and real American families. So when you hear Chuck Schumer whining about fiscal irresponsibility, I want you to ask him this. What's irresponsible? Cutting fraud and growing the economy? Or letting millions mooch off your paycheck forever? So, and here's the best part. All of this means no new tax hikes for working families, no punishment for small businesses, just the swamp's waste, fraud, and abuse turned into savings that actually helps you, not the freeloaders. That sounds pretty fair to me, doesn't it? So now you know who's losing Medicaid, and you also now know why they never deserved it in the first place. You also know how the swamp rigged the system, and you see exactly how President Trump's big, beautiful bill actually balances the budget without bleeding you dry. But what do you get in return? More importantly, why are hardworking Americans about to see more money in their paychecks and in their pockets than ever before? Well, you stuck with me this far, guys. So let's talk about what you actually get out of President Trump's big, beautiful bill, because this is where the swamp's fake outrage completely collapses. So while Chuck Schumer moans about Medicaid for people who never earned it, President Trump's bill gives real Americans what they deserve. So let's break it down. Super simple, no spin here. So number one, no tax on tips. Now think about that, guys. Millions of waitresses, bartenders, hotel workers for years, they've been forced to report tips like regular income just to watch Uncle Sam skim a little piece off the top. Not anymore, though. Under the big, beautiful bill, those tips stay in your wallet, right where they belong. Number two, no tax on overtime. Now, we've got over 90 million hourly worker people in this country who grind extra hours every week to keep their families fed. And I was one of them. For way too long, the IRS double dipped, taxing your regular hours and then taxing your overtime like you committed a crime for working harder. Like, what's up with that, right? Can I get an amen to that? I mean, like, President Trump's bill flips that. Overtime pay, untaxed, and period. So we need to also talk about a few more benefits that we're getting here. All right. Number three. And if you love the fact that your overtime pay is not going to be taxed, just say, hooray, overtime. All right. Number three, bigger child tax credits. I'm talking working parents with kids under your roof, more breathing room, more money in your pocket, real help, not more empty promises. So looking forward to those bigger child tax credits. That's definitely going to be very valuable financially. Number four, we got car loan deductions. Now, this is super new, too, but only for American-made cars. So if you're buying a Mercedes-Benz or, a Lexus, I don't think that those are going to qualify. But if you buy American, built American, employ American, you get rewarded. So if you're lining the pockets of China or Mexico, I don't see any discounts for those vehicles. But this is how you rebuild manufacturing and how you protect your neighbor's job while you keep more of your paycheck. Number five, direct wins for small business owners, especially the farmers and independent truckers and entrepreneurs who keep the country moving. Lower tax burdens, more reinvestment, fewer petty IRS hits on the margins that kill small businesses while mega corporations hide money offshore. So while Chuck Schumer and partner in crime Elizabeth Warren scream about heartless cuts, here's the reality that they never mention. The big, beautiful bill takes from the frauds and it gives it right back to the workers, back to the parents, back to the truckers, the farmers, the folks who actually built this country and never once asked for a free ride. And guess what? This is exactly why the Democrats are in full meltdown mode today. So you think Chuck Schumer's panic tweets are about compassion? You think Elizabeth Warren's fake tears are really for poor Americans? Man, please. They're panicking because when you cut off millions of illegals and freeloaders from Medicaid, you're gutting the future voter pipeline that they depend on to keep the swamp fat and funded. You see what I'm saying here, guys? The gravy train is not about handouts. It's about buying loyalty. It's about votes. That's all it is. When able-bodied non-workers lose the free check, they have to show up for real jobs again, not rallies. And then the swamp, they hate that because for decades, they've used your taxpayer money to build a dependent voter army that never stops showing up to pull the Democrat lever because they want to get that free check, right? They want to get a little bit more gravy. And now President Trump just smashed that script into pieces. So yes, they are panicking because their entire narrative that Republicans hate the poor just went up in smoke. They're stuck defending fraud. They're stuck defending freeloaders. They're stuck explaining to real working class families why they should pay for people who just refuse to work. And that's a fight they can't win, and they know it. But hang on, guys, because we're not done. Like, you want to see how deep this thing goes? Guys, the big, beautiful bill isn't just about Medicaid. It is tied directly to finishing the border wall, to locking down illegal crossings and pumping real resources into ICE and DHS to make sure that these cuts really stick. Now, if you thought that the border fight was over, guys, think again. Now, I'm about to show you how the bill's border security section works and why the swamp really fears President Trump's plan for mass deportations that protect your job, protect your neighborhood, and your tax dollars. Now, trust me, guys, this next piece here, it might actually be the part that really keeps Schumer up at night. Okay, so I want to go ahead and tackle this piece that the mainstream press definitely does not want you to hear today. The border security crackdown that's buried right in the heart of President Trump's big, beautiful bill. Because here's the blunt truth about it. You cannot fix Medicaid fraud for good if you don't slam the door on the pipeline that feeds it. Now, you want the stories before they break on TV? My breaking news newsletter drops the real facts straight to your inbox hours, sometimes even days before mainstream media even covers it. No spin, no filters, just the truth. It's 100% free. Click the link in the pinned comment down below and follow us on there. Just join us now. And if you like being ahead of the herd, this is where you start. Now, for years, politicians pretended that endless illegal crossings had nothing to do with you. They told you that border security was mean. They told you to look the other way while millions of people just walked in, claimed some fake papers, and drained billions of dollars from programs like Medicaid and food stamps, programs that were meant for citizens. Well, President Trump's team knew the second that they wrote this bill, if you don't fix the border, the fraud just grows right back like a weed in your backyard. And this is exactly why this bill fully funds the next phase of the wall. It pours money back into ICE, DHS, and Interior Enforcement, the teams who actually find the illegal aliens, draining our budget and deport them. For real this time. Now remember, President Trump's promise wasn't just to build a wall. It was to finish the job that Biden, Schumer, and open border lobby fought tooth and nail to block. And so now they're fresh out of excuses. Every illegal alien deported frees up tax money for your community, for your schools, your roads, your hospitals. Every scammer who gets caught means more seniors, more families, more Americans who earned it. You see what I'm saying here, guys? And this is the nightmare scenario for the swamp because it's not just about handouts. It's about votes. And if you seal the border, you choke off the Democrats' plan to turn fake compassion into a permanent voter pipeline. And they know that. And this is why they're melting down tonight. So let's be clear. We're not out of the woods yet. I will admit, this fight is far from over. The Senate did its job, but the House showdown is next. And you can bet Schumer, Warren, and the open border lobby are already cutting backroom deals, trying to bribe weak House Republicans into folding. Why? Because if they kill the big, beautiful bill in the House, here's what happens. Taxes go up overnight on 68% of working Americans, guys. The child tax credits vanish. No protection for your overtime pay. Medicaid fraud explodes again. And brace yourself. The Council of Economic Advisors is saying that the GDP could hit 4%, triggering one of the biggest recessions in modern history. Now, think about that. You keep paying for the fraud, and you get hammered by job cuts and tax hikes on top of it. So really, the stakes couldn't be any clearer. Either you keep your money, or the swamp keeps theirs. Now, this isn't about party lines anymore. This is about working class families who built this country, the waitresses, the truckers, the farmers, the factory shift workers, the same people who always get stuck paying the tab while the swamp writes blank checks for freeloaders. President Trump's big, beautiful bill, it's a hard line in the sand. For one, the swamp pays, the scammers pay, the people who didn't earn it pay, and the rest of us, well, we just get to keep what we earned. Thank God, right? All right, so I want to go ahead and close this out with a piece that nobody on cable news is willing to say out loud. The real battle behind President Trump's big, beautiful bill is about who runs this country and who pays for it when the swamp screws up. You see, guys, for decades, the so-called elite class, Wall Street billionaires, Silicon Valley billionaires, the donor class, the foreign lobbyists who've played both sides of Washington like a cheap violin, they fund the ads, they bankroll the campaigns, they write the loopholes, and when it's all said and done, me and you, we pick up the check. So while they are hosting their fancy fundraisers and at their swanky little places that they rent out, these halls and whatnot, you're stuck paying hidden taxes on your tips. While they hide profits overseas, you're stuck watching your overtime pay get raided. You ever look at how much you would have gotten before tax, like your gross versus your net? You ever look at the difference there? Imagine if you were able to get the bigger number instead of the smaller number, right? And so while they fly private jets to global climate conferences, you're stuck at the gas pump, paying higher gas prices because they gutted American energy. How much is gas where you're at? And every time they screw up, they just print more money or hike your taxes. Now, President Trump's big, beautiful bill flips that on the table, okay? It's not about billionaires and giant hedge funds. It's about the real backbone of this country, working class families, struggling moms, single moms juggling 2 shifts, farmers who break their back every sunrise, truckers who run thousands of miles so that the rest of us can keep our shelves stocked. Guys, shout out to the truckers. Type in truckers in the comments down below if you know a trucker who deserves a little bit more of their paycheck. All right. Now, this bill says you work, you keep what you earn. You cheat the system, you're out. You break our immigration laws, goodbye. You want a free ride on somebody else's dime, somebody else's back? Not anymore. So this is why the same elites crying crocodile tears for the poor are the same ones cutting checks to Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren to keep the fraud rolling. Because when they say compassion, what they really mean is someone else pays the bill. And that someone else has always been you up until now. So here we are, guys. The Senate did its job. The House is next. And make no mistake, if the House caves, you're going to feel it overnight. Higher taxes, higher fraud, fewer jobs, another swamp bailout with your name on it. But if the House holds the line, if enough Americans speak up, share the truth, and drown out the fake news spin, then President Trump's big, beautiful bill does exactly what he promised on day one. Puts America first for once. And it makes the people who never earned it finally pay the price. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do right now. Do not let this video get buried. Share this video with 3 people who still believe Chuck Schumer's Medicaid lie. I want you to post it, forward it, comment below where you're watching from so that we know that you're out there. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel because this channel will keep hammering the truth out every single day that they try to bury it, okay? America didn't get here because we folded. We got here because we fought. And with this bill here, we fight back one more time because you deserve your tips. You deserve your overtime. You deserve your freedom. And you don't owe the swamp another dime. So I just want to say thanks for watching, guys. As always, I'll see you on the next one.